Hey guys, I'm Age Sage. I'm not much of a content creator, so you probably won't know me at all, but I do like making decks in card games, and I like making decks that are wacky and strange, but also liable to win you a few games too. So, what I've made is a deck that I don't think I've seen anything quite like it, even from all the old decks that were posted weeks ago by the content creators that were in the closed beta. And it's a black green Econ deck, so it's kind of a weird archetype right off the bat. So let's take a look at the deck. I think you'll probably like it. So let's look at the black slots. So a lot of these are pretty obvious. You're running your gold gain package, which is Ironfog, Goldmine, Payday, and Bounty Hunter for the track. That's just what you want in an Econ deck for sure. The last card that is a little more questionable is Gank. Certainly, the more questionable part is why are you running 3 of these? I think that 3 of them tends to be pretty valuable, especially when you're running both a Phantom Assassin and a Bounty Hunter. If you were just running 1, you definitely don't want 3 of them. But with both of them, 3 ganks is pretty good. Also, Phantom Assassin, Coup de Grace, that's just an obvious choice. So let's take a look at the green cards, because I think that's where this deck actually gets kind of interesting. First of all, you have Miss Avernus, Honor Secrets, Drow. Those are just obvious cards that you want in basically every green deck. Rebel Decoy, on the other hand, is a little weirder, but I think it really ends up being pretty good, because you do want to keep your stuff alive in this deck, and also you want to be able to respond to chump blockers you might have in front of Reptile Convoy. Defensive Bloom. Certainly a questionable card, but I find that it ends up giving you a lot of value, actually. It's more than just 16 HP of value most of the time because you're running regen. But even if it is just 16 HP of value, you know, that does stall out the game pretty well. Other cards that are pretty decent, certainly Savage Wolf. With all of the regen that you're running between Soul of Spring and All Seeing One's Favored, this wolf is going to be really tough for your opponent to kill. And also Soul of Spring, in the same note, that keeps your Savage Wolf alive, but it also just keeps so much stuff alive really well. It can... You have these huge damage red heroes, but you put a Soul of Spring down and it's like, oh, well, that guy's going to take 2 more rounds to kill or something. And it's sometimes the value you get out of Soul of Spring is just insane. Revto Convoy, similarly, the value that you can get out of Revto Convoy is also sometimes just insane. Sometimes you'll just win the game off the back of this card entirely. Like when you see, oh, I have 2 Paydays in my hand, and I can just go for a kill on this tower really easily with like an 80 damage Revto Convoy. Sometimes this card can just win you the game like that. Other times, you'll play this card on turn 5 and you'll only have like 24 gold and you won't have a Payday, but 24 gold, you're going to deal 12 damage with Revto Convoy. You can play it in front of a hero and just easily kill a hero and get a ton of value out of the card right off the bat. So really, a lot of these cards in the green slots in this deck are surprisingly effective. Okay, so you're going to look at this item deck and say, wow, that is awful. That is an awful item deck. Why would you do this? And normally you'd be right. In any other deck you'd be right. But in the case of this deck, it is actually surprisingly effective. Because the win condition that you're going for with this deck partially revolves around hoarding your gold for Revto Convoy, which is separate from trying to buy items from your item deck, which is confusing for an Econ deck, and that's why Revto Convoy is kind of bad. But in the case of this deck, what you're hoarding your gold for is actually good, because you're saving until you get 48 gold, at which point you can buy every card in your item deck, and then slap 3 Clazorim Hourglasses on your heroes, and say to your opponent, okay buddy, for the next 3 turns you can't draw cards. You're basically going to need to win the game using only the cards currently in your hand. And that is often just so restrictive that they have a very, very tough time doing it. And so, in the end, this win condition, I think, is both crazy fun and super wacky and interesting. I don't know, I really like it. I think this is a super unique deck, if you ask me. And real quickly, I want to go into some of the other cards that I considered using or did use in previous iterations of this deck. One of them is Revtel Investments in the place of Gank. Find that card here. This is pretty good. It does get you to your win condition of let your opponent never draw cards for the rest of the game sooner, which is nice. But I found Gank also gains you gold. Obviously, you're killing heroes, and it also locks them out of the game a lot better too. Other cards that are worth considering. In the place of Lycan, I found 3 heroes could all be used in this deck in the place of Lycan. Enchantress, Tree Protector, and obviously Lycan. It's weird which one ends up being better. Obviously, it depends on the matchup which one you're going to prefer. But I think Lycan generally edges it out because the dog does synergize pretty well with stuff like Soul of Spring and All Seeing One's Favor, because you're not going to kill the dog. It's going to be really hard. And if you do try and kill the dog with like something like a Slay, well, you probably should have used that in the Revtel Convoy. Okay, so that was my, deck review or whatever the fuck they call it. I don't know. I just hope you try this deck out, like it, maybe have some fun with it. It's a fun deck. That's all it's really supposed to be. It's not supposed to be super competitive, but it ends up actually being kind of good sometimes. Anyways, if you want to see more of my deck making antics, I'm not really much of a content creator, but you can still check me out. I do stream on occasion. I'll put a link in the description. Why not? Come see what I'm doing. That's all.